This is Messi Can't Stop Her, and I am your host, Judith Cambia Obatisa, JKO. Welcome to today's episode of Messi Can't Stop Her, the podcast where we share the stories of women who have come through situations that would otherwise have put them down. Women who, despite the chaos, have triumphed through to achieve something with their lives and even add value to the lives of others. Today we have Aleisha Black. Aleisha, welcome.
Thank you.
Aleisha is the host of Finding Myself Through Obesity. She is a woman who has a story to share, a story of resilience, a story of second chances, a story of great accomplishments. And today she'll be sharing some of her journey, enough for us to understand that no matter where we are right now, we too can. No matter how difficult it is, we too can. So, Aleisha, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It's a real honor to have you here today. In the midst of life's responsibilities and all your commitments, your willingness to be here to share your journey so that another woman will be lifted up. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Your words are so kind, and I feel very grateful to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, so I normally start with a question. Take us back to the mess from which you have the story that you're going to share with us today. What was going on in your life? What was that challenge that seemed so hard to overcome, and yet you did? I read your story on your website, but you're here. I think it's sweeter from your lips.
Okay, well, I'm 43 years old, so I have a lot of history, but it's interesting because I've struggled with my weight ever since I got married. And so I always had this thought that if I could just lose weight, that all my problems would be solved. I've been a performer my whole life. I wanted to be on the stage, but being heavy really held me back because it didn't align with what I wanted to be. And so I was always searching for that way to lose weight. And I would lose weight doing something really extreme. I've done HCG, I've done all Slim Fast and Weight Watchers, I've done everything. And I would always end up gaining my weight back. But I would get pregnant or, I have 4 babies. They're not babies anymore, but I have 4 kids. And so anyway, just a lot of losing weight and then gaining it back. So in 2017, I was, over 300 pounds. And for some reason, I felt like I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I was going to commit to the world that I was going to lose weight. And so I did. I remember recording this video saying, I'm going to do what it takes. No matter what it takes, I'm not going to quit. And so I started that journey and I lost 85 pounds using isogenics, which is a meal replacement diet. And then you also have cleanse days once a week. You don't eat anything and you just cleanse. And it was really, really hard, but the cleanse was really hard. But documenting my weight loss was amazing. I felt so good. I was like, oh my gosh, I have the answer. This is amazing. I did so good for 9 months. I lost 85 pounds in about 9 months. And I couldn't believe that all of a sudden I was able to do it. And then as I was getting better, my husband has had a lot of mental health struggles, which if you follow my podcast, you'll kind of see why. He has had mental health problems because of the way that he and I have reacted. Anyway, it's just a whole opening of information now that I'm healing. But going back to before I started looking at myself, I was a real victim, wanting to fix my husband and always feeling like he wasn't enough for me. And so he started to have suicidal thoughts. When he saw me doing better, he did worse. And so the thing that made me fall off the wagon, I guess you could say, is that he went to a psychiatrist and they prescribed him a medication that he had been addicted to previously. And he had gone through this addiction like for 7 years, I think. It was a long time and it was awful. So I was so scared knowing that they were putting him back on this medication that he had been addicted to. And so that's where I stopped. I couldn't stop eating. That was the point that I had to eat. And there was nothing that could satisfy that feeling, that nothing that could fulfill me anymore except the food. So I had to go back to the food. And I remember every single day going and buying these huge cookies, and I couldn't stop myself. And so little by little, I just started to gain that weight back. And then I started to get depressed and I started to hide. Nobody really knew that this was going on because I was trying to be more loyal to my husband. And so we had these secrets that we had to keep. And it was just an awful time. The fact that I started to gain that weight back and have the shame, it was just really bad. I'm really social, so I love being with people. And then the coronavirus hit. And so everything started to change and isolate. And it was just awful. It was really hard and lonely. I have 4 kids. I love being a mom so much. And I didn't even want to be with my kids anymore. So I could tell that I was starting to become depressed. I can't really speak to being suicidal or super really depressed. It was just a mild depression compared to other people. But for me, it was, just not wanting to be with my kids was really hard. I wanted to just sleep or be in the bath and not really have to do anything. And so anyway, so that's kind of the story about the darkness that I was in.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you said you fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
You used that phrase. And the beauty of our time together today is that you didn't stay down.
Right.
And this life, you have that time, of being at the peak, losing weight after many years of desiring to. And here you are just enjoying this time of triumph. And there goes life again.
Yeah.
That's why they say life is full of ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Mercy Can't Stop Her is sharing these stories, because though you fell off the wagon, you didn't stay down. Life is full of ups and downs. And these stories help us see that the fact that you triumphed over your weight at a particular time doesn't mean that forever and ever you're going to ride the wave of euphoria to paradise. There'll ups, there'll be some other downs. So here we are in this place of downness where depression is taking over, where your husband is struggling, where because mommy is struggling, 4 children are beginning to see and maybe begin to have their own little struggles, which is the most heartbreaking thing for any mother. And that, of course, the cycle, it increases your depression and the guilt and the shame. Can't you see me? I'm not even a good mother. See what I'm doing to my kids. In addition to all the other baggage that you're carrying, and there, in that place of darkness, light came. Tell us about it.
Okay, yes. I was constantly searching for answers and I was still looking for something to save me and something to fix me. And I finally went, I signed up for this thing for Kathy Heller's. Her podcast is Don't Keep Your Day Job. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's Don't
Anyway,
Keep Your Day Job.
Kathy Heller, she's amazing. So anyway, I had never heard of her, but I had this ad come up on Facebook and it was said, make a living doing something you love. And I thought, okay, I'll sign up for that. And I signed up for a lot of things, did a lot of classes, but nothing really. I would do good for a bit and then I would go back to my old ways. But with hers, I didn't even show up for the first day, but I listened to the recording and she talked about her mother being a talented singer and actress, wasting her life being depressed on the couch, and that she didn't want to be like that. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that. And I don't want to waste my life being depressed on the couch. So I started to be more invested in her program. And it was one of the first steps for me to I knew that I had to learn how to love myself again, but I didn't really know how to do that because I didn't want to look the way I was looking, everything. But she taught me to just show up anyway. So really, I started to sing on TikTok. That was the first thing that I did was sing again. And so I showed up on my social media again and started to share my story. And I knew, kind of the direction that I wanted to go. And so that was the very first thing that really helped me, was taking her class and signing up for that, and then having the path of wanting to do a podcast eventually and to have a membership for women, helping women like me who think that their value is in their weight and their size. And it still didn't feel quite right. I still didn't feel very ready until my husband had another mental health crisis, and we had to shut our business down, and he had to go drive truck. We had a landscaping business for 20 years and he just couldn't do it anymore. And so he started driving a truck, which was a blessing because him being away, we had a lot of codependency issues. So him being away allowed me to have to look at myself. And that was the biggest thing for me, was having to look at myself. And then I met another mentor who really helped me see the truth of myself. And that's when I started my podcast, because it wasn't about, accept yourself as you are. It's like, why are you wanting to eat? Why don't I want to live my life? Why am I trying to escape with food? And I want to figure out why, so that I'm not constantly starving to lose weight and then gaining it back when these hard things come up, because life is going to go like this. So I wanted to figure out why I am eating. If I could heal those parts inside of me that wasn't wanting to be seen or wasn't wanting to feel, then maybe I wouldn't want to eat so much. Maybe if I heal the emotional weight, that the physical weight will also be healed too. And so it's kind of like an experiment for me. So that's why the podcast is called Finding Myself Through Obesity, because I always thought that my life would be good once I wasn't obese anymore. But God told me that I have to find myself through this. I have to, first of all, be able to look in the mirror and not reject what I see.
Yes.
I have to be able to look at myself in the eyes and have love and compassion for me. And I couldn't do that before. I had to learn to do that. Just looking at myself was so hard without saying something negative. And now I can really look at myself. I still don't look the way that I want to look, but it's okay. I'm not hating myself like I used to. So that's why I love my podcast, because it's just really my journey of healing all the things I didn't want to look at in myself. And I think that that's what all addictions are just ways to distract us from seeing ourselves. Distract us from seeing the truth of who we are and who we've become. Distract us from taking responsibility for the choices that we've made. Keeps us in victim mode. And it's been quite a journey. I tell you what, I'm so grateful for what I'm learning. And I'm just barely beginning on this journey. And I really want to lose 150 pounds and be healthy someday. But if I lost 100 pounds, I would be happy. I just want to be healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's not just about my body anymore. And me changing my body has nothing to do with how other people see me anymore. It's really just another way of being in a prison, is being in a big body for me. It's like, I want to be free.
Yes. Yeah. I love what you said about the emotional weight, because I'm also a big lady and I love your podcast. I love your podcast because even just the first episode of that podcast really spoke to me. I remember when I had my first child. My first pregnancy was twins. It was a very difficult time in my life. And after I had the babies, I was a size 8. But I never, ever saw myself as slim. That was the slimmest I've ever been in life. And I did not see myself as slim. But the thing is, no matter how people tell you you're beautiful, If you don't believe you're beautiful, it's a waste. You will never believe them. No matter how slim you get, if you see yourself as fat, you are going to be fat. And no matter how fat you are, if you see yourself as awesome, nobody can make you feel fat. And that's what I see about that podcast, finding myself through obesity. The challenge that we have as women, as people, is not the size of our body, is the weights on our emotions.
Yes.
The weight on our emotions, they drag us down, they keep us down. Because I see some people who are really big ladies and they are full of life. They're a light. When you're with them, you laugh, you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So I've come to the place now where I am at my heaviest in life, but I've decided not to hide myself. Sometimes I hardly really post pictures of myself on Facebook, but I remember I posted something and I wasn't even looking my worst, even though I'm at, you know how they take a picture of you and you don't really look good. That picture wasn't bad, but the only thing the person could see in my post was, wow, you're so big now. And they put it as a comment. And when I saw it, I just smiled because it's okay. It's okay. What really matters is
Wow.
what I feel about myself. And the truth is, yes, I'm big actually.
Ooh.
Every time I look inside the mirror and I see how big I am. So it's not new to me. You can take the
Yeah,
word they
yeah.
say to
Yeah, I
you
do know.
and say, oh my God, I'm so big. Oh yes, I'm big. Every time I see myself in the mirror. But one thing that you said here that I'm taking away is when I see myself in the mirror, what do I say to myself? Do I feel so bad about myself that I don't want to see myself in the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take us back to where you found Kathy Heller. One of the things I've noticed is when we are desiring change, life brings resources our way. So tell us
Mm.
about where you were in your mind when that ad came up on your feed. What were you going through? What were you saying? What were you saying to God? What was your heart's cry? Because you had never heard of Kathy Heller until an ad came along. It was divine, but there was something going on in you. I've discovered this from my life. When there's something in you going on, then that thing attracts what you need. So tell us about, you are in this dark place and then your heart begins to yearn for more. Something is going on. Describe it because that is actually, I feel that point is where our change occurs. Though we are still in the darkness and we don't know how to get out of it, there's a yearning.
To be honest, I never stopped looking for answers. I thought that there was always something else out there that could fix me. And so I had just barely finished a Tony Robbins event. And Tony Robbins is amazing. And I would feel good while I was doing it. But so if you follow my YouTube channel, you would see some of that. But when I saw Kathy's ad, I just remember thinking how much I would make money and do what I love to do. And I don't even, at that point, I wasn't even doing anything that I loved anymore. I wasn't even singing anymore. And I wasn't even thinking about singing at that point when I saw that ad, but I remember being really drawn to what she had to say. And It's Your Turn is the class that it was. It's called It's Your Turn. And I do know that it grabbed me and was like, whoa, this sounds awesome. And so it wasn't really like this, light bulb moment because I already was searching. I kept searching for things, but never putting into action.
Hmm.
I would take classes, but then never take anything with me. But with Kathy, I signed up for the It's Up to Me. I got in with the groups and we had like 3 months of work together. That was amazing because it helped me have more of that discipline instead of having just a week like Tony Robbins was a week, but then you don't have anything to keep you going. So we had our pod groups that helped us, and just basically what we're doing is we're dreaming together what, we're dreaming that anything's possible. And she's telling you anything's possible and you can do something. What do you love to do? What are you good at? And I'm just thinking, what? Wouldn't that be a dream? A lot of people think that I should do something with my voice and my singing. And I would love to do that. I just don't know that I believe that I'm good enough for that, And so I was always, going towards the helping other women with their body issues because it's that's another thing that's really big.
Yeah, and if you don't actually deal with what's going on in your heart, no matter how talented you are with singing and whatever it is, you will never actually be able to do those things that you're talented at because your mind is like a rock tied to your ankle that keeps dragging you down to despondency. What motivated you to keep searching for help, to not give up on yourself?
I was on social media a lot, had a lot of social media addiction. So I think I was just having a lot of information at me all the time. I think that may have been what kept me like, oh, I'm going to try this. Oh, I'll try this. I'll try this. So I had a lot of information coming at me. But because I know that when I listened to, like I said, I didn't even show up for the first day of that class. So it wasn't like this, light bulb moment until I heard her talk about her mother and I could see myself in that situation. That's when I was like, oh, I need to listen to her. And she is so powerful. Once I listened to that first session, I was like hooked. She's so powerful in the way that she talks because she speaks truth and she has so much love in her and so much passion, and you just believe everything she says. So I love it so much. She is one of the most influential people in my life for sure.
That's awesome. In my situation, because I've had those ads come up too, it's just like divinely inspired to come when you need it. And it just drops, I just felt there's more to me. I just felt that there's more to my life than how I'm feeling. And somewhere in my heart, I didn't want to end my life without using what was in me. I didn't want to go to the grave wasting the potentials that I came to earth with.
I love that. And I definitely agree with that. When I started to gain my weight back, I had this feeling that all of this was happening for a reason. I know this is happening for a reason. Now that I'm looking back at it, I'm seeing that it was like me seeing that ad. I could have never watched the replay, but I remember exactly, I was in my car. I remember exactly where I was driving when I listened to that episode. And that was one of those moments that was like, I know exactly where I was at when I heard her talk about her mother. And so, but through the whole weight loss, I wanted to help other people lose weight, but I didn't know how I got to that place. And now I gained it all back. And now I have to actually do the steps and the actions myself to get me to a better place mentally and physically. And then through that, I will be able to help other people say, here's what I did. And through my podcast, people are going to see, here's how I unwrapped it all. If you've listened to it, you can see that I just quickly wrote down some issues that I was not happy with in my life. And that was the first thing that I unraveled in my podcast was things that I'm not happy with. This has to be a clue to why I'm eating, right? And I was blown away by all the things that I learned about myself in each of those issues. I thought it was everyone else's fault. I thought everyone else was responsible for the reason why I wasn't happy in it. And it had nothing to do with anyone else. But the fact that I was willing to look at myself finally, I could point my finger at my husband for having an addiction when I was in full addiction, our whole marriage to food. But I could point my finger at him and make him the bad guy. And I'm a really nice person. I would never do that like purposely, but I wasn't looking at myself. I couldn't see bad in myself. I had to blame it on other people, right? Because I needed to be perfect because that's the person that I thought I was. You're a nice, perfect, good girl, and you do all the right things. Yes. And as long as it's everyone else's fault, then I still align with that image of what I wanted to create of myself, which is so not even realistic. which can tell you partly why I was eating, because my body and my mind, my spirit was like, what is going on? We can't feel this. We don't want to feel this. So let's eat and let's not feel it, because once you eat, then all you're thinking about is how full you are, and regret and shame. You're not thinking about the deep stuff.
I love your marriage because
Yes.
it seems though the two of you were struggling, you were still committed to being together.
Yes.
And you were also committed to getting better, each of
Yes.
you in your little spaces where you were, because you wanted to bring your best selves to each other. For my wife's sake, I'll have to work on this, my wife and children, for my husband and my
Yes.
children. So the importance of having a significant other that cares, that is committed to you
I'm so lucky.
completely. Yeah, I think that might be another motivation, because one of the things I try to do, which I have learned through the challenges I've had, is introspection, reflecting on what's the driver, either of the negative or of the positive.
Yes.
So when I ask what's the motivation, there's a motivation of love there, love for your children. Like you said, I don't want to be the mother sitting on the couch wasting her life. I want my children to see that even when life is hard. I was reading, what you said about on your website. You know, I want my children to know that if you go through tough times, you can come through them and, do well. So that's the motivation. That's love. And I think there's a place when you talk about Kathy, talk about, oh, she's filled with love. I think that the Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. I feel that love is a driver, either love for yourself, not selfish, is all about me,
Mm-mm.
get all the whatever. Love for the fact that my being here is a gift. I don't want to waste this gift that I am. Love for myself, love for your husband, love for your children. And this love is not love that is selfish. It's love that is giving, generous. It's a love that just floods the life of the loved with good.
Yes. Yes.
That
I
is the
love that.
motivation.
And I think people don't understand that self-love, because if your self-love is run by your ego, it's not real love. It's really fear, right? And so we're either motivated by love or fear, but if we're motivated by love, then we are open, and we are accepting, and we are receiving, and it's nothing, like you said. I totally understand what you're saying, because I'm in that place where I the world perceives the self-love as this selfish thing, but that's not even true love. That's the ego. That's the ego saying, hey, I'm not going to let myself be hurt by you, so I'm going to love myself and say no to you, but that's really
Mhm,
not self-love.
mhm, mhm,
Self-love is,
mhm,
I love myself enough, I respect myself enough, the peace that I feel is so important to me and my family that I need to
mhm,
step away,
mhm.
right?
Down. The peace is so important that I need to step away. When people talk about self-love or self-care, I've used that word, that phrase, but I don't think I've ever truly understood what it meant until 2021.
Yep, me too.
Yes, I didn't love myself.
Mm-mm. Nope, my love was
I don't think,
conditional for sure.
yeah, Yeah, I don't think I loved myself. I
Mm-mm.
beat myself up for every mistake. If I had a conversation with you, Aleisha, and I went away, I would run through that conversation and blame myself. Why did I say this? Why didn't I say that? But
Yeah.
now I turned 50 in 2021,
Oh,
and it's just before I turned 50, as the months were building up to my April a birthday, I was just wanting, I said, I'm entering this fifth decade of grace,
yes.
because five means grace in spiritual things. It's my decade of grace. And what is grace? Grace is unmerited favor. It's a place of freedom. I will not hold myself bound, neither will I let anyone hold me bound. And guess what? As soon as I proclaimed that, everything was coming at me to hold me bound.
Yep. Oh
But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so
you are such a beautiful soul. I love this conversation. Thank you.
yeah, so, but my dear, that thing you said about how when you see that this piece is so important that even if I have to step away, that is self-love. And as mothers, as women, I don't know, there's something about women. The song that says, I'm not your superwoman. Actually, every woman is a superwoman. We are wired to want to be superwomen, want to do it all,
Mhm.
want to serve mom and dad, help our children, help. At the end of the day, though I'm dying and I'm tired, I have to make sure the kitchen is spick and span because I just have to do it. That's what makes me a good woman. And then, of course, you have the judgment of our super women sisters who judge other women because they feel they have it all figured out. The way you raise your children, you're spoiling them. The way you take care of your husband, you should be his mistress and his wife, be delectable and da da da. The way your lawn is, you have to have it manicured. I mean, all kinds of expectations, and we keep jumping through hoops to meet these expectations of people who don't really give a damn about us. So now,
Mhm.
self-love is
Yes.
self-love is centering. Hmm.
Mm.
And I don't really
Yes.
know much about yoga, but I think that's a lot of what you
I
said.
me too. I know it. I know it's good. I'm afraid to do yoga.
Me too. I think I'm going to tip over to the wrong side when they say you should use your fingers. But I've heard, what? There was a time I was going to Good Life Fitness Center. One of, I've wasted a lot of money on gyms.
Me too.
I even paid $500. You know those things they give you a challenge. If you
Hmm.
give us $500 in 6 weeks time, you're going to at CrossFit. Look at
Oh
me.
yeah.
Of course, I lost my $500.
Done that. Been there, done that.
Yes. So those my good life
Yep.
fitness time. There's a yoga, something like yoga, I think. Yeah, it's yoga. I attended once or twice. It's not that easy. Yoga isn't like a walk in
No.
the park,
Yeah.
even though they make it look that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
centering
know.
ourselves. So centering. And when I say it's not like in the Eastern religion, we think of yoga, but I think centering is about being self-aware and being balanced in everything around us. So that's the way when I use the word centering, it's not about whatever else. I don't know what the other people who use the word mean, but I want to be able to bring myself to a place of balance where I'm taking a decision and I'm owning my decision. Because I lived many years of my life taking every decision, being so indecisive, and when I eventually take the decision, I'm blaming myself. You should have worked out this way, you should have worked out that way. So the power of self-love is is being able to decide and own what you decided, whichever way it goes.
Yes.
It gives you a lot
I
of peace.
I talked about this a lot on my social media. So Sarah Blondin
Mm-hmm.
has the most beautiful self-love meditation that it's called Loving and Listening to Yourself from
Okay.
Sarah Blondin. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but if
Mm-mm.
you will play this was one of the most beautiful meditations that I've ever listened to. So she basically goes through and explains how we are all we need and how it's just so beautiful. So listen, you should listen to it and then tell me and then message me and tell me what you think about it because it explains how we're looking for all of this love and acceptance from outside of us
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
just how it is, but it's just so it's I the very first part she says, I love you and I'm listening. Can you imagine like just touching your heart and saying I love you and I'm listening and to just notice the softness that you
Maybe
feel for yourself?
something weird came to my mind
Okay.
when you were saying that. And I say, I love you, and I'm listening, caressing yourself. I'm like, all these years that we're growing up, as we want someone else to caress us when we can
Yep.
caress ourselves.
Exactly.
We can say he's not romantic. He
Yes.
doesn't say sweet nothings, whisper sweet nothings into my ear.
Totally.
But I can whisper sweet nothings into
To
my own
myself.
ear. I
Yes.
don't need someone. When I was growing up, there were this series called Meals and Bones, Barbara Cartland. They are love stories. Meals and Bones were always about a girl who meets a guy and it changes her life. Barbara Cartland's stories were about a girl who meets a knight in shining armor and he just makes everything all good. And I've been waiting my entire life for my knight in shining armor. So I
Yep.
met this guy, and he wasn't a knight in shining armor. And of course, he doesn't know he has his own challenges. But maybe if I had known what I wanted in terms of loving on myself, who knows? Maybe things would have been different. So I've now, in this 50th year, my fifth decade of life, I realized there's no knight in shining armor. And sadly, it took me 5 decades. I don't want it to take you, the listener, 5 decades. If
Amen
you're
to
not,
that. Yep.
there's no knights anywhere, only in Mills and Bones and Barbara Catlan. And Barbara Catlan's stories are not that popular anymore. There is no knight anywhere. The only
Yeah.
knight is you. I am my
Yes.
own knight. You are your own knight. And
Yes.
because even when a good person who can help you comes your way, if you're not willing to do the work, no change will occur.
Yep.
Aleisha, you talked about all the years of doing, of getting information. You attend that training, you attend this training, and not applying the knowledge. The definition of wisdom is application of knowledge. When you receive knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
you apply it. That makes you wiser than the person who didn't receive knowledge or the person who received knowledge and didn't apply it.
Yep.
But we go and we gather all this information. I don't know if do you have a library with lots of books? So you buy a lot of books. I have one of those. And I sometimes read them, but ask me what I read 2 minutes ago, I might not know.
I know.
But as you begin
So
to love
true.
yourself, yeah, as you begin to love yourself, you find that simple things that you read, they mean much more to you. When you listen to a podcast like Finding Myself Through Obesity, you are not just listening to somebody's talking, you are gathering insights that propels you to change, to be better, to do better. But prior to beginning to love yourself, really love yourself, it seems we are just floating through life and information just skids across our ears, goes into one ear, steps out through the other, and nothing really stays. In your experience and all these opportunities you've had, do you find that is when you decide to love you that information becomes more meaningful?
Oh, for sure. And I think I know this is the first year I've really loved myself. I have been the kind of person that could make friends really easily. And I was able to manipulate a way to get attention and love from other people really easily. And so if I needed my needs met, oh, let's go have a lunch with my friend. Oh, let's do this. Or, I need my kids to love me. I would just, go snuggle by them. So this was so powerful for me to say, oh, I can do this for me. And I wanted to share one of the things that my mentor shared is she says, so imagine you have a cup and with no bottom or holes in the bottom of that cup. And everybody who gives you compliments, especially for someone like me, who I'm a singer, I perform, and people always tell me, "Oh, you're so good, you're so good," That would go in there, but it would never fill up because there's holes at the bottom. Because your self love is the bottom of that cup. So if you
Hmm.
love yourself, you can have an overflowing amount of love in your life. But as long as your self love is not there, no matter how much love and attention you get from others, it will never stay. It will never be enough. It
Hmm.
will never be a full
Hmm.
cup. And I loved that.
Hmm.
I loved that. How my mentor taught me that because it helped me see. And same thing with that loving and listening to yourself. It
Mhm.
explains that a lot.
Mm.
in more depth and more, and it will just touch your heart. It's so beautiful.
So you talked about having a group where you help women through sharing resources and the conversations and things that happen on that group. Can you speak a little bit about that so that people who want to be part of that community, people who will benefit from that opportunity, will be able to reach you and become part of it?
Thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. And right now, I have a free Facebook group, Finding Myself Through Obesity. You can find me on Facebook and then also on Instagram. But I am building a membership. What right now I am getting together with my mentor. I'm trying to get the mentors that helped me see my truth. I'm hoping that I can have them be the coaches for my group. So I don't know when I'm going to launch my membership, but if you follow me on Facebook, I will give all the information there. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, everything. So you can find me. If you go to my website, www.findingmyselfthroughobesity.com, you'll be able to find all of my stuff there. But I want to have a membership that is going to have soul aligning coaching to help us learn how to truly see the truth in ourselves, to finally love who we are so that we aren't fighting the weight anymore. We're not fighting losing and gaining weight. We're just loving ourselves. And I've noticed that my hunger has gone down since I've been coming to the truth of myself. So I feel like we'll see what happens. And I think when we love ourselves, we don't need to escape so much. And that's what I'm finding to be true. So I haven't even gone on any diets or anything, but I've already lost almost 20 pounds. It's just because I'm not as hungry, and I'm not trying to not to. It's just I'm not needing to escape so much. So people say, are you hungry?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not even hungry." Where before it didn't matter if I was hungry or not. Give me the food. I will
Yes.
eat. I just want to eat. I didn't care if I was hungry, but now I'm like, "Oh, I'm noticing that I'm really okay. Yeah, I don't need that." And it's not out of a diet. It's not out of restriction. It's out of like, oh it's weird. It's like,
Wow.
okay, so this is
Awesome.
how it is. Yeah.
So self-love is feeling, just in case you don't know.
Yes.
So if you
Yes.
that space that the food has been trying to take over,
Yes.
self-love fills that
Yes.
space.
I love that. And that's why I'm hoping that my podcast will show this journey of me losing 150 pounds a different way instead of fighting in diet and restriction, just learning to love ourselves and listen to what our body really needs. And I've
So
talked
good.
about this before on my podcast, but if you aren't in tune with your body and your soul, you can't be intuitive with your eating because our brains think if we are in pain and we've turned to food all these other times, our brain is telling us, "Oh, no, we need cookies. You need cookies." So we get confused about what real hunger is. Do you see what
Hmm,
I'm saying?
I do.
Because our real hunger is in our body. But if our
Mm-hmm.
brain is saying we need cookies, then we're confused. Our brain
Yeah.
is telling us what we need because it's trying to protect us from feeling hurt. It's always trying to protect us from any uncomfortable feelings, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
getting aligned with yourself, mind, body, soul, then you can go, hunger. Oh, I haven't felt that for a while. Okay.
Hmm.
No, I'm not hungry. See, you know what I mean? Because our brain
Yeah.
just tries to protect us. It doesn't tell us the truth.
So you guys, that's what I meant
So,
by centering. She's articulated better than I did. And
oh,
so I'm
I'm
sorry for
still
anyone who's
learning.
offended by guys. I don't, you know, please don't be offended.
Oh,
That's all I can say.
you've said
Yeah.
nothing offensive.
Yeah. So in the show notes, you have links to the group
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook, Finding Myself Through Obesity. And if you get into that group and sign up for that group, once the membership is out, you'll be the first to know about it. So if you're interested in changing your life in 2022, in becoming
Yes.
more intuitive, in aligning your mind, your body with your soul, in living beyond the challenges that make you go for food. This is your chance. I'll suggest look inside the show notes and get onto the Facebook group Finding Myself Through Obesity. Meanwhile, please listen to the podcast because I listened to that podcast, and the first episode that I listened to, which was the first episode that started the podcast, was amazing. In fact, it's not just to listen to one episode, it's to subscribe to the podcast because every day new information is being shared. And the most beautiful thing about it is the vulnerability. That is the thing. Aleisha is so real, and which is why I asked for her to come on the podcast. She's real. She's not going to coat it in saccharine and make you feel that, oh my God, I got it all figured out. We are all figuring it out as we go. Marie Folio always says, everything is figure outable. So get on this train, and this 2022 is your year. Is your year to win the battle over depression, win the battle over overeating, win the battle over anything that makes you feel less than. Because you know what? You are good enough right where you are this moment. You don't have to be slimmer, wiser, smarter, richer, taller, whatever, to be good enough. You're already good enough. And that's why you need to listen to that podcast, because when you do, you find out that you are indeed good enough. So, Aleisha, can you maybe give us 1, 2, 3 tips that a woman who is currently in a situation where she's in that place she used to be, that place of sadness, that place of looking in the mirror and thinking, oh my God, I'm so fat, or, things around her are not just working. And in fact, not just looking in the mirror, maybe somebody who made a commitment to her to be with her forever is telling her, you are too fat, you are this, you're that, or her children, or her boss, whatever, where she is. Can you give 1, 2, 3 tips that this person can hold on to?
Thank you for asking. That is the first thing I would say is we need to start breathing. So this is the first thing my mentor told me is you fill up your stomach and breathe in and hold your breath clear at the top, but breathe as much as you can and then fill from your feet up to your head. I want you to imagine as you're holding your breath, imagine love filling your whole body. Forgiveness, whatever you need that day, just imagine it feeling. And then, so you breathe it in and then let it out, breathe it out with your mouth. That's the first step, is so powerful. We're just breathing. The second thing I would do is find a good meditation. If you will look at Sarah Blondin on Love, any of her meditations are so amazing because she will help you see that you are enough exactly how you are. And it's really just a practice of acceptance and allowing. So when you breathe, you are able to receive. And I didn't realize how much I didn't breathe before, like deep breath, and you can receive that love for yourself. And then the third thing is, the new thing that I've been doing is go in the mirror, look at yourself in the eyes. Don't even judge your body, but look at yourself truly in the eyes for about 8 seconds and just say, we got this. And then you give yourself a high five. That's a new practice. Mel Robbins taught that.
Awesome.
And it's a celebration, a way to celebrate yourself. Let's go get this day. Let's do it. And let's love ourselves through it. And look at yourself in the eyes. And you will see someone. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to see yourself in the eye, look at yourself in the eye, but just hold it there. And every day it'll get easier to look at yourself. And then you'll start getting to know who you are and look through the shame and see your soul.
It's so good. Thank you so much, Aleisha. Mel Robbins is the high five. Lisa Nichols is the forgiveness. So you go to the mirror, you speak to yourself, forgive yourself of whatever. Every morning you do this, and then you speak affirmations, and there you go. And she said when she was diagnosed with depression, and I think they were going to give her Xanax or whatever, she asked the doctor to please give her time to see what she could do to help herself. Life was a mess, and her emotions were also a mess. So she did this mirror thing for 6 months every day. So what that tells us is the 3 tips that Aleisha shared is not I did it today and just it's a miracle. It takes work.
Yes.
It takes consistency.
Mm-hmm.
It takes sticking through. This is why you join the groups like Finding Myself Through Obesity on Facebook, because we can't do it on our own. If we could do it by ourselves, we wouldn't be here. We need a community.
Yes.
And when Aleisha was sharing, she talked about the power of the 3 months community. She had a 1 week training with a very accomplished coach, but the difference was made when she had a 3 months time with another person who wasn't as well known as the other guy, but because there was community. And today, Aleisha is still in touch with people from that community. I actually found or met Aleisha through one of those communities. We were not meant to live life, to go through life, to journey through life alone. The Bible says God set the lonely in families. Your family is not the only family. That's why it is families. The Bible says God set the lonely in families. The family of Finding Myself Through Obesity group on Facebook, the family of any other group, those are families. So if you want to get on this journey, starting as you hear this, like I said, the show notes, I'll put the Sarah Blunden link, Lisa Nichols video, Mel Robbins' interview with Kathy Heller, where she talked about the high five, and also the Facebook group and all the other information that can help you. I want you to really lean into this information I get today. Just commit to practice. And please, please DM me. Send me a message to tell me how it goes, because we are here. We are rooting for you. We are rooting for you. Thank you so much, Aleisha. Today has been amazing. And these 3 tips, they're not just things that you said. You lost 20 pounds applying them. So, your girl here wants to lose some pounds too. So I got to get on the strain.
We can do this. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can do
so
this.
thank you so much. So if you're a woman out
Thank
there,
you.
if you're a woman out there and you have a story to tell, you've come through chaos, you've triumphed over challenges, we want to hear from you. The world needs to hear your story. A woman out here needs your story to take her next step. Please send me a message so that I can have you as a guest on Mercy Can't Stop Her. Meanwhile, Mercy can stop you. Mercy didn't stop Aleisha. Mercy can't stop you. Remember that. See you next time.